Hi everyone, welcome back to the second section. Here we'll be doing more of extracting things that we'll be doing over and over again. Please mute your mic if you are not asking a question. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to the next section. To the second section, sorry. So now you discover that we've been repeating ourselves over and over again when it comes to the server response. Why don't we abstract something like that to a new folder called utils? So let me show you how that works. I'll create a folder called utils. And my utils folder, I'll have something called let me call it helpers.js, right? So my helpers.js, basically what I want to do is to have a function called const server response. Server response. Now, what does the server response function does? Basically, we have the response, we have the data, we have the status. We are assigning 200 to that, and the type by default is success. Right? Then we have this arrow function, right? So basically, this is just it. Okay, sorry, an arrow function. Now, this I'll be writing a comment for that, something like JS.doc. It's actually JS.doc, not like JS.doc. So the first parameter is the server response. Basically, it's an object. Okay, this is server response or response from server. Response from server. Data is the more of it's an object, and what will be there is response data. Then we have the status, which is number, more of an integer, and that's status code.
Jonathan, I didn't know you guys have started though. I didn't get the notification.
Yeah, no problem. We haven't done much. Basically, we are creating a function that will help us minimize our stress when it comes to sending server response. So we are creating a new file inside the utils folder. So I just created a new folder called utils. So basically like utilities. Then I have an helper folder, a helper file. And I'm saying the type is a string. So basically this is just like writing documentation for a function. It's just a very good convention whenever you're writing your backend or whenever you're writing JavaScript. Essentially, comment your code properly so that anyone that is looking at it will understand what you're trying to do. Right? Response type. It could be success. You know, it could be success. It could be error, and it could also be yeah. Basically, that's it. Then success or error. Now let's work on this now. Basically, I say const response. Hold on one second. Const response is equal to an object where I have status is equal to type. Now don't forget that we have type here, right? Type is right over here. So we have status equal to the type. Is this success or error? Something like that. Hello, can you hear me? Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yeah,
sure.
Awesome. Don't worry if you have any difficulty. Just try to pay attention so that you can ask your questions. This call is recorded and it will be available on my YouTube channel. I'll share the link with you guys later on after the call. And yeah, you can ask a question on the call. So if the type of this response is equal to error, what I want to do is to say response dot error equals to the data, right? Now, else, if type of if type of data, the data that we are sending, if it is a string, hello?
Yeah.
So basically what we are doing is to response dot payload equals to message data, right? So this is like we trying to do exactly what we did earlier. Let me put it here so that you see what I'm talking about. Hello? Take a look at this. So here I say if we have an error, we just want to go ahead and assign data to error. If we have if the type of data that we are sending is that we're supplying is string, then we have response of payload is equal to this, right? Then we can have what's it called? The third one is if that's not the case, I want to go ahead and just say response the data is equal to data. Now this is my own way, like this the function that we're actually creating. And here I will say rest dot status. Okay, rest dot status will be the status. Don't forget we have a default status here, which is 200. If we are setting something otherwise, then we have to do that again. Like we have to modify it. Then I'll say JSON response. So we already created our response here. Once response equal to this, and then we keep appending things based on the data that we have. This is just a way of constructing our server response in such a way that we don't have to be, repeating ourselves over and over again in this manner or in this fashion.
Nice.
So that's just basically what we are doing in this helper. So we'll be creating more and more helpers like this, and you get to see how beautiful it is in terms of having a solid structure for your Node.js application. So here we have we're going to be using this now. If you are using VS Code, it's so sweet. When I say it's so sweet, it's all pure with importing and exporting of what's it called. So it helps you with importing functions that you have in your code within your file structure, within your directory. So here I'm in my main app, which is the index here, and basically I have this same thing here, right? I don't want to say response or JSON here. All I want to do is to do something here. I'll just say to use the server response. When I come to this page, when I type ser, I have this auto import from here. If I go ahead and hit enter, I have server response. And because I've written all these jargons here, which is JS documentation, they give me a very nice stuff here that says what? Server response. Right? The server response I want to send is res, which is an object. Afterwards, I have my data, and the data is the information I want to send to the user. Basically, all I want to say in this data is what? Welcome to the workshop. Correct? Welcome to the workshop. Afterwards, the next thing I have is what? Is the status. What's the status code? It's 200. And default is also what? 200. Also, the type is success. Exactly. So if the type is also success, I don't have to go ahead and supply the argument. So just by saying server response, rest, welcome to the workshop, I've done everything I have been doing here over and over again. Just like that.
Wow.
And this is so cool. Like this, if I go back and test my server, let me leave this V1 and I say go to this server place. You see, I have success, welcome to the workshop. As if nothing changed, but our code is now much more readable than it was before. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I'll go ahead and enter the what's it called, the index route, and do the same thing. I won't delete it yet. I'll just come here and say I want to have a server response here. It automatically import it for me. Look at the top here. I have import server response from what? Utils helpers. Remember, we are not using default. That's why we have to import exactly the name of that function. Take a look at it here. Export const server response, and that is exactly what I have to import here. If not, it won't work. But because I'm using default here, I can just import as any name I want using the same directory. So let's continue. I have server response. Rest is essential because that's the response. That's what the function we use to set the response to the user. Excuse me. Then afterwards, we have the data. If what we want to send is just a string, which is welcome to the beginning of nothingness, I just go ahead and paste it here, and that's all. I don't need all this function anymore. And that makes my router very clear. I'm sending a server response, this is the response, this is welcome to the beginning of nothingness. And now when I go back to my server, which is currently building, compiling to, then I have this. Okay, I can now say /v1, sorry, /API /v1. Now this looks strange a little bit. Take a look at my index, right? I modify something here a little bit, where I'm saying that our server, our API route could either be v1 or API /v1. Since I'm using API on both endpoints, it works. So if I say API /v1, it do the same thing as saying v1. These are just fancy way of structuring your backend. So let's proceed. Now, right now, our server is not doing anything. And basically what we want to do is to like talk about structure. So back to where we are before, I'll be using this, what's it called? I'm using the controller structure this time around. But the next workshop, we'll be using this one to be the more, more robust and kind of large application. I have, in fact, whenever I am building projects for clients, enterprise-based application, I use this particular structure. But for this workshop, we'll be using this particular structure. So next up, let us set up our Express application properly so that it will be ready for use. Like we'll be confident to say, yeah, somebody can use this Express API. So first off, we are bringing in a couple of other tools. One of them is BodyPsa, right? We use BodyPsa for getting inputs. Whenever I put submit forms, whenever you send a message from the user, from the server, BodyPsa will help you take those requests, those payload that you set. Let me give you an instance. Suppose you are using an Express server. Suppose you are using a Vue.js application or whatever application you are using, and you're submitting a form request. It could be a login, it could be a contact form, it could be another thing. I'm meant to receive that and use it within my application. So what makes it easy for me to use is what we call the BodyPsa. In the BodyPsa, I have two things I want to import from it. I have, which is JSON and URL encoded. So here I will say from BodyPsa. So before I proceed, let me just go ahead and install those dependencies so that I won't be having error inputs in our, what's it called? We'll be having error in our code. So I will say yarn add BodyPsa. I will also have Mongoose, which is meant for our database connection and schema. Then we have Morgan. Oh, sorry, we're not using Morgan this time around. We have Helmet. Helmet is actually a suit for security in Express.js application. We also have Course, which is cross with cross origin requests. And yeah, if you are meant to like add more, then I will do that. Let me also add .env. .env is also meant for using environment variables in the application. So I'll add that. I have a message in the chat. Let me check. Okay, somebody have a question. Go ahead and ask while I install.
Okay,
body
hello, good
pasta is
morning.
wrong. You wrote BPD.
Which one is that?
Instead of body pasta, I wrote BPDY. It won't work.
Oh, I see. I was wondering. All right, so I have BodyPsa is installing, and yeah. So basically, here in my application, I will just say I'm
Hello.
importing. Hi, ask your question.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I'm just joining like 5 minutes ago. So about this body parser,
Yeah.
can it handle XML responses and other forms of responses? Is it only JSON it can and request body?
To be honest, I've not handled XML request. I've not handled XML request with BodyPsa before, so I can't answer your question. It's better to tell you I've not done it before than to tell you it does this and it tend to be false. So I've not tested that before. But normally you can send an XML response from your server. I'm talking about getting the request from your, getting payload from forms or stuff like that from the user or a client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when someone when someone sends you an XML from the front, sends you the data as XML rather than JSON, like what can you use to get and pass that response?
I will have to check that and get back to you. I've not actually received XML before, so
All right.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's better.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. All right, so I'm saying import course from course, and then the last one is the BodyPsa functionalities I want to get in. I want to have, okay, let me say from BodyPsa, right? So here I have Jason. You can send me an email. I would tell you my email afterwards, then I'll respond to your question. Since this is recorded, I don't want to just give you information that will not be true. All right, so next up, these are the libraries, these are the things I'm importing right now. I'm gonna be adding more later on. So I have this. Then the next thing I want to do is to start using them. Right now, I'll comment out Mongoose because I need to add one more thing before I start using Mongoose. Right? So I have this way where I have my app. Now I want to add a lot of things like configuration to my application. First, I say app.use helmet. So what does Emmet does? Emmet is like a security suite of over a lot of security measures that have been kind of put together to secure your Express application. So I would like to like read more on Emmet. You can get packaged on the npm directory, and you get more information about what it does for your application. But it's add a very thick layer of security to your Node.js application. Okay, so there is another package for passing XML. To answer your question, it's called BodyPsa XML, right? Thank you, Tuji, for that answer. Thank you very much. So now here I'm disabling X forward by. What this does is it removes the powered by Express header that used to be in our application, because if our attacker doesn't know, if we have an attacker, for instance, that is trying to exploit our app, he doesn't know what we are using, then that's an advantage for us because it doesn't know how to even go ahead and approach it. So that's why we are removing the X powered by. Also, I want to use course so that to assist us with course origin support. Then afterwards, I want to use JSON. So this will help us to pass JSON request, something like this. And I say probably I want to have a limit because Node.js application is trying to like be versatile, try to be fast, try to be as good as possible. But if you don't set limits, you might be biting yourself. Like people who might expect that they send the response that is just too much. And even this 2 MB is too much if you are not accepting files. So this is just about you setting limits. It's just a sample. Afterwards,
The application will not leak or what?
No, this is a limit, like the maximum payload that I can send to the server. If you're sending something more than this, then it might not work. I can even make it 1 MB or something KB. You understand?
Oh.
Yeah. So also, I want to use URL encoded. Yeah, over here. And then I want to have extended false. These are just configuration for what's it called? BodyPsa. And what else do I want to do? Okay. Yeah. So that's all for now. The next thing I want to do is to set up my environment. Now, environment is where you keep sensitive information in your application, right? For instance, to set up an environment, you have to do two things. One of them is to have an env file. So in my env file, I want to have my first thing I want to set. I can say db URL. Now, normally you are meant to set this based on the environment that you are. You can say development, staging, this and that. But for the sake of simplicity, I just have a single db URL. And db URL I'm setting here is this, right? Now, this db URL is in the environment right now, but we are not able to. We can't use it. So how do we get to use it? What I want to do, which I do in most cases when I'm building apps, is to have in what's it called, a config.js file. And in my config.js file, if you notice that we installed a package called .m, this is where we get to use it. I'll say .m from .m, you see? And then I say .m.config. By doing this, our environment variable will work within this particular file. And then, excuse me. Okay. So now our environment variables are already in this file by just saying .config. And to use it, then in this file, I can say, let me just say export default. No. Let me just say export this object. Cool. Now in this object, I can say db URL, right? It's equal to process.env.db URL. Now don't forget what we used to set it in the env folder. So I just come here and I copy it, and I come back to this config file, and I drop it in. Right? Okay. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. So here I have this export is equal to db URL this. Now basically what I'm doing here is I am exporting our configurations here. So any environment variable I want to use, I'll be using it in this configuration file. And let's see whether we can access it from here. Imagine I come here and I say, hold on 1 second, at the top here. So I can just say import config, that is configuration from where? From config. Now over here, easily if I say config here, this is just to show you some intelligence. db URL, okay? If this doesn't work, then that means it's not correct. We have to fix something in our, what's it called, export. So let me just say, let me use this module export. And this should work now. So basically, we are exporting our configuration through this page. And we'll use that in a bit. One of them is our mongoose, right? So if you want to connect to our database, basically how we do that is we say mongoose.connect. I would like to do that after the app is initialized. I'll say mongoose. Now mongoose is not even in yet, so I have to uncomment this. I have mongoose.connect. Mongoose.connect. Now I say config dot sorry, let me check something in the way I'm bringing it in. Hold on 1 second, let me check. I can just say export default config. Export default config equals this. Yeah.
Const config.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Export default const config. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me just see. Export default. Yeah, I think this works as well. Let me check if I'm able to import it from here. Config dot. Yeah, it works now. DB-URL. Now, what I want to do is say, okay, connect. Then I want to add a couple of arguments here. One of them is use create index true. And then I have use new URL parser true. So these are just like configuration for connecting to our database. Then afterwards, I think we are good for our application right now. And one more thing, we have all these routes here. We have slash, which says welcome to the workshop. Now, if you are trying to access any other route aside from what's it called, the one that we have defined in our router, we have at the root here, then we should tell you that you are actually accessing something that doesn't exist. So in that case, I would say request response, and then I have what? Server response. So server response, we say response. Then one more thing I want to tell you is invalid route. Invalid route. Of course, this is the status number is what? 404. And the last one, which is type, is an error. Right? So yeah, we have our database connection set up. We have our database connection set up. We have everything like looking good. And then afterwards, we look at our schema. So to have a schema, I have to create a new folder. I call it a model. And in the model folder, we'll be looking at a basic file structure. We can have something like user.model.js. And we say import some things from Mongoose. And what are those things? I want to import schema. I also want to import model from Mongoose. Yeah, so we'll look more into this. This call will end in a bit. So, so I want to have your question within 5 minutes before I proceed to the database structure. Okay, so you can go ahead and ask any question for this particular segment.
Okay, so I don't know, but I think I would like you to just go over each and every, should I say, package that you added in this, should I say, section to the project and what they are used for. You understand?
Oh,
And
okay.
where you use
Okay.
them. So, like we seen where you imported them, their name, and then seeing where you use them and what you use them for.
Okay, cool. We use Mongoose for connecting to our database, you know, schema, anything that have to do with our MongoDB database. We use Mongoose for it. And yeah, so then we also have Helmet. Helmet is meant for securing our Express application. We have Course for course origin request. Basically, there are a lot of issues with Course whenever you are communicating between your client and server. And that's the more reason why we have our Course installed here, so that I can help with that. We have JSON URL encoded. These are what allow us to send requests to our server. For instance, if you have a request sent to the server, you get it through maybe a post request, a put request, then you get to like use this BodyPsa. Whatever is sent to you via post, patch, or put is going to be attached to something called rec.body, request.body. So I'll show you that in the next session. And if you have more questions, just let me know.
I have one more question concerning the .env package.
Okay.
So to me, in a way, it almost looks like somehow as if we are
Repeating ourselves.
Yeah, repeating ourselves.
Okay.
Because apart from writing .env, we are having to like add a file again to like add it into config. Why don't you just use a config straight without .env? Like, what's the essence
Okay, so basically, our configuration file could be more than what we have. You can say per page, maybe you want to be showing that the number of data you want to be showing per page is equal to 100. You understand? Things like, there are a lot of things that you can actually do with your config file. Config file is like where you put all the configuration of your application, right? Now, your environment file is where you keep files that you don't want to commit with your code. Because all this code that you are writing will be committed to, will be pushed to GitHub. Now, your env file, imagine you pushing the rest of the link to your database to GitHub or GitLab. That's as if you are exposing yourself.
Okay, I think I get it now. That's
Your env file is where you keep, maybe you have your MailChimp key, all your keys, your secret keys, all this key stuff, like secret to your application. Imagine you are putting the key to your paystack in your application, and the wrong source have access to it. All your payment, they just redirect it to their own account, and before you know it, everything is already out of hand. So the reason why we have env is to keep secret files. Now, this env will only work on your own laptop. Whenever you are pushing your app to another hosting provider, you need to set up your env on that hosting provider so that you can get access to those environment variables. So we call them environment variables because they only exist where you put them. So you cannot access them through the code. Like, just be looking at the code that we have on our server. No, it won't work that way. So this call will soon end. In the next section, we'll just look at services.
I have a question as well, please.
Yeah, go ahead and ask the question.
Back in your index.js, the app.js. Okay. Now, looking at what you did here in the app.use, the next package you wanted to use, you just added a space and disable.
Exactly. So this is more of chaining. You can do it the way you are familiar with it. So you can just say app.disable, app.this, app.that, but you don't need to do that anyway. Just like you're chaining those functions. Yeah. App. Yeah, exactly. It works.
All right. Then the second one is using the BodyPsa.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing as just using express.json when we use app.js?
Yeah. So it's just like saying BodyPsa.json, BodyPsa.this. You understand? So basically, what this BodyPsa does is it helps you append any request that you are sending to the user through. It helps you append it to the body. I'll show you how that works when we in our controller when we in the next session. Yeah, this session will soon end.
All right, thanks.
Just go ahead and join the call.